Hi, my name is Isla, Kundalini Yoga teacher, breathwork coach. This video sequence is about Kundalini energy, how to rise Kundalini, where it's coming from, and how to navigate the world after your Kundalini awakening as well. So, if you're interested in this mysterious energy that everyone holds in their body, keep watching. This is for you. I had my Kundalini awakening 2023. I was already a yoga teacher at the time, and as I shared in the previous video, I was going through a life crisis that forced me to dive deeper into my yogic studies. It didn't take more than 3 weeks from implementing these tantric tools and rituals, breathwork, chanting, and other stuff that made Kundalini so poof. It was like pulling at the plug, and my awakening started. During my awakening, my heart opened in a way that it has never been opened before, which was so beautiful. I've been navigating life very guarded, which also made it really difficult for me to have meaningful relationships, pursue my dreams, because I was so limited by old ideas that were inherited from my family. My Kundalini awakening truly opened up the layers within that was just longing for me to say, okay, let's go. How it happened. So I will give you more background story about where I was when I had my Kundalini awakening. I was working a job in the high-end service industry. The money was decent. I mean, at the time, that was a good income for me. I somehow thought that I was stuck there and that I didn't have any other options. What this job did to me, it was sucking the life out of me. It was no fulfillment. There was no room for creativity. It was just basically exchanging the best part of myself for money. I was slowly dying on the inside because it's a very, very toxic environment. I was jumping around to different restaurants and it was always a toxic environment. There were good times as well, and I'm profoundly grateful for that time. I learned a lot about myself, but something that kept coming to me extremely more and more strong was that I felt stuck there. I didn't want to be there. And the feeling of feeling trapped somewhere is just a huge trauma for me. So I was extremely activated more and more as the longer I was sticking around. But I didn't know what my options were because I was like, what other kind of job can I do and make same amount of money? I was looking at the job advertisement sites where they wanted to hire, let's say, a project manager in their creative department, and the type of person and tasks they would expect from somebody was insane. For like 20-25 bucks an hour, you were expected to come in there and devote your whole life to this fucking company and work from 8 to 5 and overtime. Was I tempted to change to that when I could work part-time and make double amount of money? I don't think so. But I didn't know what else there was out there. What else could I do? I was teaching yoga at the time. Teaching yoga was my passion. I loved it, but I was teaching in studio. And for anyone who is a yoga teacher, know that they don't pay you well in studios. So you cannot live on that type of compensation. So I didn't think the yoga path was an option for me. Yes, I could see yoga teachers online that were able to build a career for themselves, but I didn't think that applied to me. I was controlled about limiting beliefs and old ideas that didn't belong in my body. But I was not aware of this at the time. I kept sticking around in this service industry that was slowly killing me on the inside. And to cope with all the stress I was going through, I started to binge eat. I had an eating disorder from the past that I had worked through, but now it came back into my life. I started to overeat and many times binge eat, where I would just eat insane amount of food, and sometimes I would purge it as well because I couldn't live with having all that food in my body. I picked this behavior up and was slowly increased and became worse and worse, and this slowly and slowly took me deeper and deeper into a hole of depression. One day, driving home from the restaurant one late evening, I had crossed that boundary that I was only gonna binge and purge when I was by myself. This night I had done it at my job, and I had to go and purge in the bathroom at my job, and that was such a low bottom for me. So driving home, an old feeling that I haven't experienced for many years, but what came to me was this question: do I even want to live anymore? I wasn't sure. I felt so helpless, not having any idea about what was the solution. I also felt I had no one in the whole world to talk to about this. No one truly understood what I was going through. Most people out there also, they have not pursued their dreams, and they are usually just push it through and work a job 8 to 5 Monday to Friday that they actually don't like, but they do it because they don't think they have any options. I always been this type of person. I can't do anything if it doesn't feel meaningful. I feel trapped. I feel like I'm in a prison. I just want to explode on the inside. In this desperation, I started to search. I dove deeper into my yogic studies. I came across these tantric practices. I just started to do certain practices that I hadn't done before. A lot of breath work. I already done a lot of breath work, but not this specific kind. And I've learned new meditation techniques. I started to do a lot of inner work online with different teachers. I started to work with a food coach, and simultaneously working with this food coach, starting to clean up my food. I also became more and more obsessed about these Kundalini tantric practices. It made me feel so good. At the time, I had no idea that Kundalini Awakening was a thing. I just did these practices because it made me feel really good in my body. It also, every time I got a craving to start using food to numb, I just came back to my meditation pillow and I did some breath work and meditation, and the craving went away. And that is literally how I broke that destructive eating pattern. Today, I'm free from that pattern since several years, and I'm so grateful, and it all thanks for these practices this happened. Also, having a support from this food coach obviously was also very helpful. Short after this, when I've been free from destructive eating for about 3 weeks, I had my Kundalini Awakening. I didn't know at the time what a Kundalini Awakening was, but it was like hitting a button and a volcano started, took me on a ride. A well-meant volcano. And this volcano depleted everything in my life that did not belong in my life. As my awakening kept blossoming, I started to hear a voice from within, but it was not necessarily my voice. It was a spiritual message. It was whispering to me, go and turn in your notice. You'll be taken care of. And I was like, what? What do you mean? I can't just go turn in my notice. But the voice was just persistent. It just wouldn't leave me alone. It kept whispering, turn in your notice. You'll be provided for. And I always been really responsible with money. I always made sure that I have what I needed, and I would never go and turn in my notice. Living a single woman living in LA, I don't think so. The coach I was working with, she's like, you do not quit your job until you have another job lined up. And I was like, I don't want another job. I don't want another job. I don't want to go and work for some other fucking company and keep killing myself. I did what made sense to no one. I just decided to lean on faith. I decided to trust that voice I heard that was whispering to me day after day, leave that job, we got you. So I obviously did have some savings. Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible because it costs thousands of dollars each month to live in LA, especially if you're a woman that have some high demands on comfort. I was good for about maybe 9 months or something. I could live on my savings and completely deplete my savings. So I was like, I have some time. So I quit my job. I didn't really know what starting a yoga business would look like for me, but something I started to visualize in one of many meditations I did. I've learned to manifest. I learned a very powerful manifestation technique that changed everything for me. So this manifestation technique asked me to start visualize and feeling into my ideal situation. Something that feels touchable, something that feels possible. And I was like, although I was teaching yoga, I didn't have a follow. I didn't have money to just go and rent a studio. I didn't have that at all. What if I can find a place where I can hold yoga workshops for free, where I don't have to pay any rent? Although that felt like, how can you find that? It still felt like I could somehow find it. So I started to see a space in my body. I started to feel into this place where people came. My purest purpose, what I really was dreaming of, what I truly, truly was dreaming of, was to find or create a space that people will come for healing and for deep connection, where we were laughing together. It was a safe place where we felt safe to share and laugh and cry and build all these deep, meaningful relationships. That was what I truly was longing for myself. What if I can create this space for people to come and have this experience? Place that I can afford, that I don't have to pay any additional rent, and then put my own prices. And one morning when I woke up, I was like, I'm just gonna check West Side Rentals, a place in LA where you put listings up. Right when I logged in, I saw this listing. It's been out for 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes. A place just 5 minutes or 10 minutes away from my current place I was renting. A small studio, just a little bit more expensive than my current studio, but it had a big private backyard, an amazing, gorgeous private backyard. I went over there straight away. Spoke to the owner. They asked me, "Oh, well, what do you do?" I was like, "I'm a yoga teacher." "Oh, you're a yoga teacher? You can hold your workshops here if you want to. We would love that. We're too old to use this backyard. It's for you. We don't use it, and we have a house in Mexico. We don't have time for this backyard. It's yours. Do whatever you want here." I didn't even ask for it. They told me before I even asked for it. This all happened the moment I surrendered to go and resign from my job. I have never in my entire life felt more provided for by the universe. I felt I got to prove. I was like ghost bumping my whole body driving away from there, and I was just crying. I was crying because I felt so safe and taken care of. 2 weeks later, I moved into my new place. 4 weeks later, I had my first event, my first breathwork event in that backyard, and it was full booked. And that's how my business started. And it's all really started with my Kundalini awakening. Without that awakening, I would never, ever would have thought that I was capable of doing something like that. I was just too stuck in my own prison. I can't do that. It's not for me. I'm not capable. Something that also came to me very strongly that started when Kundalini started to rise was, okay, well, if other people can do it, so can I. If other people can do it, so can I. And that became my mantra. Obviously, it was not a straight path from there. The first 6 months was a lot of anxiety. I was living out of my savings, even though I made some money from those breathwork events. I started to do weekly breathwork events. They were fairly full. Once you do something weekly or several times per week, it's harder to fill it. If it's like a pop-up event, everyone want to come, but when you do it a regular thing, it's much harder to fill it. So although I was making some money, I still was living out of my savings for maybe 70%. That was creating a lot of stress in me. Something this Kundalini awakening really did for me, I got deeply connected with myself, with my gifts, what I'm supposed to do here. I was always confused about my purpose until my awakening. After my awakening, it became really clear that I am a healer and I'm supposed to be in the healing path and help others to heal. Before, I could never even think about myself that way, but it just became so clear, and people were drawn to me in a way that I cannot even explain. I have never been the type of person that people are drawn to. And this is because I had this shield around me because, you know, trauma, the way I grew up, the way I was not feeling held and loved and truly cared for as a child, that created a trauma. And that kind of energy repelled most people. With my Kundalini awakening, my heart cracked wide open, and I was, for the first time, extremely popular. Everywhere I went, people was drawn to me like magnets. And that's when I realized, wow, okay, I have some sort of a gift just by showing up with my presence. And I have a craft. I am a yoga teacher, or more so a breathwork coach now. That's much what I've been leaning into the last couple of years, because that's how I realize I can truly help people in much more depth. But something I truly learned from this journey is to learn to sit still in the both. There were so many times during the first 6 months where I freaked out, got panicked, and started to apply for jobs. But as soon as I was about to send my resume to some awful company, I got stopped. And you know what is the cool thing is? Every time I was about to apply or, try to pursue with some sort of other plan, I got a sell. Like somebody purchased like a 10 class package from my website, or somebody contacted me and asked for a private session. Every time I was like about to give in, sign from the universe like, hey, slow down, girl, we got you, don't be scared. So what I really, really learned was to sit still in the boat and trust the process. And the money started to come. They really did. It didn't happen as fast as I wanted to, but the more I was able to sit still in the boat and not take any decision out of fear, money came. And you know what is the interesting thing? Money came from unexpected sources. It didn't come always the way I thought it would come. And something too that I've learned during this process is to keep coming back to your heart, your most authentic selves. Because when you are in survival mode, when you're panicking, it's so easy to start taking unconscious decisions because you're scared. But something that is so, so, so important is to come back to the purpose, come back to the true authentic why. When I came back to my grounding practices and came back to that deep rooted why, I was able to calm down. And from that calm place, I was able to start also attract more of the same vibration. So just because I had my Kundalini awakening didn't mean that everything was just like perfect. Kundalini awakening put me on my path and made it impossible to ever take another route because my path was so crystal clear. But I still had to do some work, and I still had to come back to my core practices to keep having opening my heart and to keep raising my vibration and to keep drawing the right opportunities into my life. And something I really want to share for somebody who is interested in working towards a Kundalini awakening. So one of the reasons why I think I had my Kundalini awakening so fast, besides from being a yoga teacher and been doing a lot of meditation and breathwork in the past, but as I mentioned, I was struggling with, let's call it for what it is, an eating disorder. I was suppressing my emotions with food. I was self-soothing with food. And that took up a lot of space in my life, a lot of space. And when I removed that whole pattern, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, whatever it is that you're dealing with. It doesn't have to be food. It could be gaming. Can be porn, sex, over shopping, or just being in a toxic relationship. If you remove your biggest energy block, you're going to create space and allow this energy to rise. So what I did, I removed this big block, and at the same time I started with the Kundalini yoga practices, and boom, it happened so fast. Before you start working with Kundalini energy, you want to work through whatever it is that are blocking you in this current moment. And some of these things needs more professional intervention. If you have severe bulimia, you might need to take a treatment for the eating disorders. I did a treatment maybe 15 years ago, so I had a lot of knowledge about nutrition and how to get out of that type of behavior. So, and I also have, over 10 years in 12-step programs. So I had so many tools. Once I just decided to get started, I knew how to do it. So we don't want to rise Kundalini and start doing these intense practices before you are in a stable, grounded place within yourself. And you need to know how to self regulate. You need to have a foundation of knowing how to hold space for yourself when you're hurting or when you're scared. Obviously, all these are things that you can learn by working with a coach. And if you are interested in going on this Kundalini path, don't do it alone. If there's something I could wish I had, if I could do this again, is to jump on this journey with somebody who have the experience of rising Kundalini, how to handle the awakening itself, and how to handle the time after. Because I didn't have anyone, and that was extremely, extremely lonely to be in that space on my own. Nobody I was around had any idea what I was going through. And something that also is happening when you have your Kundalini awakening, a lot of your relationships, I hate to tell you this, but this is the truth, is going to feel misaligned. Once you start to awaken, many, if not most, of your relationship is going to feel misaligned. But the cool thing is that a lot of new people is going to come into your life that is going to be extremely aligned, is going to help each other to rise even higher. When it comes to friendships, there has been friends that I felt extremely connected with, but once I started to integrate after my Kundalini awakening and my business starting to grow, I've been feeling more and more, okay, well, this relationship doesn't feel aligned for me anymore. And so you will change a lot with your awakening, and it's a good thing, but it can also be overwhelming. That's why don't go on this path alone. If you're interested in private guidance, you can jump on a call with me. I offer a free discovery call. This is a very exciting path. And if you are looking for a big transformation, if you're sick and tired of feeling stuck and just going in circle, you know what to do.